On Easter Sunday, Pope Francis implicitly criticized Russia for dragging Ukraine into what he calls a cruel and senseless conflict. And he urged leaders to strive for peace as what he marked yesterday. He called it an Easter of war. Pope Francis dedicated much of the message to Ukraine. He compared the shock of another war in Europe to the shock of the apostles when the gospel says they saw the risen Jesus. Pope Francis again raised the specter of the war leading to a nuclear conflict, something that he's spoken of on several occasions since the Russian invasion began. This time, he quoted the 1955 manifesto by philosopher Bertrand Russell and physicist Albert Einstein that said, quote, "Shall we put an end to the human race or shall mankind renounce war?" End quote. As it stands currently, the global conflict is more akin to the way the Cold War was, where color revolutions and proxy wars are the order of the day. However, the secrets of the extended war could only remain quiet for so long until one side begins to see that it is the inevitable loser. Someone has to make a move, a strike, that is going to be the unthinkable. That is when the quiet war becomes loud and clear, and the nuclear answer would be a baptism by fire. April, as I said in the last hour, is often called the cruelest of months. As after Easter, we see the bloodletting increase and wars accelerate. We see assassinations and deaths of notable persons in power. Easter itself is a holiday that is about the redemption from bloodletting. And on Good Friday, Jews recognize Passover as well this year, coincidentally. Time in memoriam of the Passover, the destroying angel that killed Egypt's firstborn. Hebrews were warned to put the blood of the ram on the door to protect them during Passover. It's all tied to this firstborn influence of a sign of Aries and blood sacrifice with fire on the altars of humility. But it's the darkest alchemists that are among us that use this time to whittle away at the population with massive culls. These massive culls include starvation, pestilence, warfare, economic collapse. See, in the days of our forefathers, or the days of the Egyptian gods, all of that, things like that, there was always a cull of human sacrifice, because back then we were fearful of the gods. The old tales, the mythologies, the biblical chronicles, all are an account of homicide, genocide, and war. The ancients believed that a sacrifice to the gods would keep the earth from a major cataclysm, and so it continues today. As the Ukrainian refugee crisis swells to see more than an estimated 2 million citizens flee the country to safety, reports of Russian shelling and missile strikes in major cities across Ukraine are only increasing day by day, despite the resistance shown by Ukrainian civilians and armed forces to the influx of Russian forces. We see the bombardments of the country by land and air and sea, and they continue, and it seems that there's no end in sight. And while the Kremlin has clamped down on foreign independent reporting of Russia's actions in Ukraine and banned or throttled access to social media sites like Facebook and Twitter, it has sought to gain support for its so-called military operation in Ukraine. While conventional warfare has been the focus of the mainstream media, I want to point out something else that of course, they'll overlook, but I will look into because I think it's important and just far more compelling and intriguing. There seems to be some occult warfare being carried out, as religion and even ancient magic is being used to stir up the esoteric aspects of this war. Now, we know that symbolism and sigils have been effectively used by the Azov Battalion and by the Russians in the heat of the battle. The Russian warship that was, that I'm seeing on the news right now, they're showing this Moskva, this warship that was confirmed as sunk. It was on Good Friday that this boat, I guess, caught fire, was hit by a missile, and it was the Russian ship called the Moskva missile cruiser It was a flagship of the Russian Black Sea Fleet. It sank on Good Friday following an explosion on board. And Russian state media reported a news report that was cited back in, I think it was February of 2020, was raising a very interesting question about the sinking of the Moskva, or the fire that broke out on the Moskva. It just depends on who you believe, whether you believe the Russians or the Ukrainians. The question that was raised, and is not being spoken of by the mainstream media, the question is whether or not the vessel that sank, the Moskva, had a Christian relic on board. A piece of the true cross of Jesus Christ. The Russian Orthodox Church announced in February of 2020 that this relic, the true cross of Christ, had been delivered to the then commander of the Black Sea Fleet, Vice Admiral Igor Osipov, and it was at the fleet's headquarters in readiness for delivery to the ship. That's what was written about back in February of 2020. The Russian warship that was sunken, that was sank in Ukraine in the war, could have been carrying a piece of the true cross, which is a treasured Christian relic. The Moskva, Russia's Black Sea Fleet flagship, sank on Good Friday. They reported that it was an explosion. Russian state media reported in 2020, though, that the ship was due to take this holy relic of the true cross. It was going to transport this relic, and it's unclear whether the relic was on board when the Moskva sank. The Russian warship may have been carrying this holy relic when it went down. The Moskva has sunk, or it's sinking now. Russian state media has reported. The Russian Orthodox Church announced that it could have still been on board. The relic in question, the true cross, basically is a fragment of wood just a few millimeters big, which, according to believers, is a piece of the cross of which Christ was crucified. A holy relic that the Russians had to gain power.